Welcome back to another episode of 33.3 WREC. It's been a couple of weeks. We've had some shit go down, but we're back. We're excited to have another episode for you guys. We're going to be talking about the Doors' debut album from 1967, and then we're going down to Oklahoma with Turnpike Troubadours' 2010 album Diamonds and Gasoline. Joe, how you feeling?
It's been a rough couple weeks. Gotten kind of lazy. Wasn't doing this and whatnot, but we are back. I'm excited to get into this. The Doors are probably one of my favorite bands out there, probably top 5 for me. And something I would always say is the Doors will always be my mistress. I may be married to like Zeppelin, I may be married to the Dead, like whatever. I'm in a lot of marriages with different bands right now, but the Doors will just always be my mistress that I will just sneak out, go to her house at the end of the night and just fool around. I really excited to break down the Doors and also excited to break down the Turnpike Troubadours Diamond and Gasoline album. Really excited to get into this episode.
Yeah, you talked about the Doors being your mistress. So I've really come into red dirt music out of Texas and Oklahoma really the past 3.5, 4 years or so. And Turnpike was that band that kind of led me there. They're kind of the standard in that area, just in terms of playing incredibly tight live shows. And their lead singer and guitar player, Evan Felker, writes the majority of their music. And I've said before on the show, I love good songwriting, and Felker has come out and said that he views songwriting as short stories, telling short stories like a poem almost in a way. And this album, I think there's a few really good, few good examples of that. So I'm excited to get into it. But we're gonna kick it off with the Doors. Joe, I'm gonna be honest, I'm not a big Doors fan, and I don't think it's because I've avoided them. It's just I've never really gone out of my way to listen to them. And after listening to this album, I was very happy that you recommended it.
Yeah, like I said, Doors are like my something I just always sneak off and listen to. Jim Morrison, the lead singer of the Doors and songwriter, by far one of my favorite lyricists of all time in music history. I remember when I still went to school, I had to take I took an English class and we had to pick writers and write biographies about them, like a short biography about them. And the two writers I picked was actually Jerry Garcia and Jim Morrison. And when we get into breaking down this album, you will see just how much of a genius Jim Morrison is and just how smart he was in his songwriting. Just you're gonna see some of these songs. There's just so many different meanings in these songs, even just off this first album that they put out. And this first album is self-titled The Doors. It was released on January 4th, 1967. I'm sorry. It was recorded from August 29th to September 23rd, 1966. And the fact that it only took them 1 month just to record this album is honestly amazing. And even for their first album ever, too. It's amazes me. And it was recorded at Sunset Recorders in Los Angeles, California, and Hollywood. And the members of this band, as I said, Jim Morrison is the singer-songwriter. Ray Manzarek, Chicago guy, St. Rita CCL for all of our Chicago listeners. Robbie Krieger plays the guitar, and then John Densmore on the drums. This particular album, it got very, very good reviews with two of the main singles were Break On Through to the Other Side and Light My Fire. Light My Fire went to number 1 on the Billboard chart. This album peaked at number 2 on the Billboards, and the album that was right before this one was Sgt. Pepper's by the Beatles. So honestly, a great year for music in 1967. Yeah, those two albums are at the top of the charts. The two singles, Break On Through and Light My Fire, those are just the predominantly most popular songs on the album. Two of my favorites. The other 3 songs that I like off this album is Soul Kitchen, 20th Century Fox, and The End. Those plus Break On Through and Light My Fire, by far just one best 5 songs off the album, in my opinion. I don't know if you had any particular favorites you liked.
Yeah, so I really like Soul Kitchen a lot, just kind of because I just love the instrumentation in that song. There was
Yeah.
a lot going on, and at the time, um, they were still super super young, and it was just crazy how inexperienced they were just playing at that high of a level. And that one really stood out to me. And I mean, I just kind of liked it just because it gave you kind of like one night stand type of vibes, and
Hmm.
I found that to be pretty interesting. And then I also had Light My Fire, obviously. It's kind of the most psychedelic track on the record, I would say. I mean, I think you would agree with me, and that kind of just goes well with the
A
era,
little bit,
very
yeah.
obviously. Yeah, yeah.
Well, a lot of these songs are psychedelics, and
Yeah, no.
if you don't know anything about Jim Morrison, he really loved to do psychedelics and all that. And a movie I recommend is the Doors movie. Came out sometime in the '90s, and I think it's like a 2-hour film. I don't know. I don't think it's not on Netflix. I don't know if it's on Hulu or like HBO Max. I don't know where if it's
Mhm.
streaming anywhere. I might honestly buy the DVD if I get a chance to do it, 'cause it's just that good of a movie. I highly recommend it. If you love the Doors, like it's a must-watch movie if you love the Doors. And that movie really got me into it. I remember I first saw it like sometime in high school. I was like, wow, like just completely blown away. Yeah, so like I said, this is a kind of a psychedelic type album. It's just really more
Mhm.
with the lyrics because Jim Morrison, that's like what he liked to do. And they actually got the name from Aldous Huxley's book, The Doors of Perception. And that book's actually about Huxley's his trips with acid, LSD, and like all the
Mhm.
psychedelics. And so Jim Morrison kind of took that from Huxley and just said, "Hey, let's just name ourselves the Doors," and which I think is pretty interesting. And let's just like go into like the first track of the album, break on through to the other side. This is pretty much like about doing LSDs, where
Mhm.
and like psychedelics, taking a trip into it, where uh the way Jim Morrison is describing it is kind of you're doing it to break on through to the other side of reality. That's why he claims that he likes to do drugs and whatnot. He wants to go on to the other side and uh, and reach alternate realities and alternate
Realities,
states in
yep.
his own mind. Yeah, which I think is pretty interesting. And one of the lines I like in this song too is actually "Everybody loves my baby. She gets high. She gets high." It's just like a nice little line I like in the song. And
Mhm.
when the album was initially released, even like as a single, they had to censor it because like back in the '60s, none of the record companies or even like the media companies just didn't want any like the cannabis or like the drug
Mhm.
usage in anything, so they had to censor it. But great song, great opening track to an album too, and so there's a reason why they released it as a single.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's definitely as soon as I clicked play, I'd never listened to the album from front to back before. You kinda knew what you were getting into, and you always want to, start in my opinion, some people don't like to start an album out with a strong track, kinda just more of a filler to kinda just really in. But in my opinion, I think you should always start out with one of your best and kind of
Mhm.
go from there, build off of it, come down a little bit if you have to, and I thought that was probably honestly the perfect track to start the album.
Yeah, absolutely. And then right after that, well, you have Soul Kitchen, which you mentioned you liked. It's my top three Doors song, I would say. It'd be like Soul Kitchen, The End, and Peach Frog are like my top three Doors songs, I would say. Not in that order, but
Mhm.
Soul Kitchen is that's actually a song about how Jim Morrison would go into this soul food restaurant called Soul Food Diners. It was owned by some black woman named Olivia, and it was on Venus Beach in California. And he would usually go in there during like drunken nights at like 2 a.m. or some shit like that, and just sit in there and just chill and just eat dinner there. And another thing about the song, I never really noticed it until I listened to it and I did some research on it. But it was also Jim Morrison, like kind of spreading his love for like black culture too in the song, which I thought was pretty. I never noticed that before until I actually really listened to it. But I love this song, and a line I like from this song too is "I light another cigarette, learn to forget," and this kind of has some. Oh, this is open for interpretation, and I think Morrison interprets it as learn to forget your past, which I kind of take into it. But for the longest time, I usually just, whenever I heard that line, it's, for me, it's just always like everything you learn, you just end up forgetting. Like whether it's everything you learned in school growing up or whatnot, like you just end up forgetting it in your past. But for Morrison, it was like he always took it as like you have to learn to forget your past, because he didn't really have the best upbringing. But it's like a great song though. One of, again, my top three favorite Doors song.
Yeah, where you mentioned I light another cigarette, learn to forget. I like that whole verse, where
Yeah,
it's
it's just he
your
gets
fingers
into
weave
it.
quick
Yeah,
minutes. Yeah, speaking secret alphabets. I thought that was the best verse in the song, in my opinion. It's
yeah. That one always holds with me. Whenever I just hear it, I just like I always replay it sometimes. Just like I need to hear that again. It just sticks with you. That's what I like about that verse. And then next song I have written down is "Light My Fire." What's really interesting about this, this was primarily written by Robbie Krieger, and like Jim Morrison does a lot of like the writing for the Doors, but Robbie Krieger mostly, he originally wrote this song, then Jim Morrison added some verses to it. And in the movie, in the Doors movie, it took them a while. It took Ray Manzarek a while to actually figure out how he wanted to do the intro. And it was like really funny. Like in the movie, Ray Manzarek's just fucking around on the organ. It's just like, I don't know, like how I want this to sound. And then like, he's like, here, you know, guys, just like leave, like come back in like a half hour or whatever. Just go down to the beach. We'll figure it out. And then like, it's like next scene, he's like, guys, I got it. And he just goes down to like, it's just like, oh, wow. It's like, and you can tell that Ray Manzarek really put a lot of thought and effort into like trying to create the sound that he wanted for this song. And this is probably one of the most popular Doors song, I would say, that almost everybody's heard. And this was and on the Rolling Stones magazine for 500 greatest songs, this was number 35 for them, which makes sense. I would expect this to be in the top 50 at least for Rolling Stone standards. Like great song. Like I love the Robbie Krieger's guitar part in this too when he gets into it. Although it was for a single, they had to shorten it down to like 2 or 3 minutes. And like back in the day, you were heard bands would get heard on AM radio, and if you wanted to get heard on the radio, you have to have like short, like 2.5, 3 minute songs. Like you
3 minute
can't
songs.
have any, yeah, like you can't like overdo it. And this song, like on the album's like 7 to 8 minutes long, like, and which I love too, because it's like Robbie Krieger's guitar part is awesome. Then I love like just getting into the organ with Ray Manzarek. Very good song. And fun fact, most people our age probably haven't heard like the Ed Sullivan Show. I feel like most people our age probably don't know what
No,
exactly that
absolutely, yeah.
is. Yeah, but way back in the day, there was a guy, Ed Sullivan. He had a show, and it was much like fucking Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon or Jimmy Kimmel, whatever. And he would always have artists on, just doing like a quick number or whatever, like quick 2 songs for the show, just to promote artists and whatnot. And they had to tell them the one lyric, "Girl, we couldn't get much higher." They had to tell Jim, like, you can't sing that, like you have to switch it out. And Jim initially told him they're like making suggestions like, oh, like why don't you change it to like this or that, whatever. And then like, this is from the Doors movie. One of my favorite lines from the movie is like Jim Morrison just turns to him and says, well, how about I just say, girl, why don't you bite my wire? Said some like shit like that. Which one of my favorite lines I've ever heard. But yeah, they were told not to sing the lyric, and Jim Morrison sang it anyway because he doesn't give a shit. And they ended up getting banned from the show because of that, and they were never brought back on. Which doesn't surprise me because they like, again, like back in the day, they were very, very strict on it. And like one fun, I didn't know this, but when Elvis Presley went on the Ed Sullivan Show, like around that time or like before that, Ed Sullivan had to make it very clear that they couldn't show anything under Elvis Presley's hips because like he would
Oh,
sway
because
his
the hip
hips off.
thrusting, yeah.
Yeah, and like Ed Sullivan said, like just show his waist and up. Don't show anything down because that's just pushing the limit. Which, in hindsight, is just really fucking stupid. But like that's just the way things were back
Dude,
in the day.
that's actually fucking crazy. Just thinking about how different late night shows are nowadays. I mean,
Yeah, right.
just some of the shit you see nowadays. But we might have to do a deep dive on an episode on just the Ed Sullivan Show and some iconic performances because I feel like people our age are mainly the people who are listening to this show, and I feel like for the most part, people only really know about the Beatles debuting in America on the Ed Sullivan Show.
Yeah, and
And
like me, like I still don't know like a whole lot
no, I mean, no,
of
I'm
who
not
appeared
claiming
on
to
like Ed
either,
Sullivan
but
show. Yeah, because I only know like Elvis, the Beatles, and like the Doors, and I'm sure like some other popular bands that might
mhm.
sit in the back of my head probably appeared on there too. But like, yeah, no, it is very interesting though, like how things just changed on TV, like from way back in the day where it's like, yeah, we can't show this guy thrusting his hips, like to compared now where it's like, oh yeah, people are just doing whatever on TV. Pretty interesting stuff. But yeah, Light My Fire, yeah, probably one of the most probably popular song by the Doors by far. I wouldn't
Mm.
say it's my favorite, but it is a very, very great song. Very great listen.
No, yeah, I couldn't agree more with you on there.
And then the final song I have written down in my notes is The End. And again, like top three song by me. It's the reason why I love this song because it just proves how genius Jim Morrison is in his songwriting. There's just so much going on, and it's so
Dude,
hard to transcribe what's going on in this song, which I love.
it was 11 minutes of almost, I would say, an Oedipus complex almost.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, that's what it
that
is.
was that was like the vibes I was getting from that, and it was
Mhm.
like basically saying that I not insinuating you wanted to fuck his mom and dad, but I don't know. It was just
Well, that's the Oedipus.
it was an
Yeah.
acid trip of a song. Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely an acid trip of a song. Well, yeah, that's the Oedipus complex. Because Jim Morrison went to UCLA and like he was majoring in like film and like shit like that. And
Hmm.
that's what he originally wanted to do. And he did like a student project on Oedipus Rex, the Greek drama. So like that's kind of
Hmm.
where he got that from. And like he wasn't like, yeah, he was just really taking it from the drama. He didn't really want to fuck his mom and kill his dad. Like, he was
Hmm.
taking the Oedipus complex. And he when he originally wrote this song, it was actually about like a breakup with one of his girlfriends. And he was singing it like he would always sing this in the bars in LA before they recorded this album in like the summer of 66.
Hmm.
And the song just ended up getting longer and longer and longer like throughout the summer when they would play it. And then like yeah, like one night like he said those lyrics like the Oedipus lyrics basically, and he ended up getting kicked out of the bar because of it, which is pretty funny. But one thing about the song though, it didn't gain too much popularity until it was used in the movie Apocalypse Now with
Hmm.
Martin Sheen. Great movie, by the way. I
Great
recommend if you've
movie.
never
Yeah.
seen it. Yeah, recommend if you've never
Loved
seen it.
watching that one in high school. Go Crusaders.
Yes, absolutely. Vietnam, great class. And then like this song was also a finale to a lot of the Doors concerts. But
Hmm.
yeah, no, like it's a very acid trip of a song. There's just so much going on, and like there's just like a lot of and Jim Morrison always says like whenever he's saying it or like whenever he hears it, he always got a different meaning from the song. Every time you heard it or saying it. And like there's like some lyrics in a song where it's like, I'll never look into your eyes again. And like that's like that can be interpreted like in a lot of ways where it's like yeah like end of a breakup, I'm never gonna like see this girl again or
Hmm.
whatever. It can be interpreted into like the death of death really, where like yeah I'm never gonna see my
Yeah.
loved one ever again. And then it also binds in again with the Oedipus complex where it's where at the end of Oedipus Oedipus actually like scorches his eyes out
Yeah.
and blinds himself so he can see his, he can see his true self in his own existence, which is pretty interesting how that like all plays together. And that is another reason why I love Jim Morrison and his songwriting. And then like another lyric that I think is very like interesting to me in my own way is the West is the best. And you hear him repeat that a couple times in the song, and this like lyric, in my opinion, has multiple meanings because I believe it refers to like Western society's belief of being the height of civilization in the modern world, which I feel like a lot of people can agree with. And it also refers to like Jim Morrison too, because Jim Morrison used to live in on the East Coast in Florida, and his dad was actually like an army general, or he had some type of ranking in the military.
Okay.
And so his dad was always moving around, and they ended up kind of moving towards Oklahoma at one point, and then like Jim Morrison ended up leaving his family and going to UCLA and just living in California for the rest of his life. So it like refers to Jim Morrison moving west in his life. And it's also commonly believed if you want to find yourself, you go west. You like see like a lot of people who just pick up and leave things, and they'll go to Hollywood just to try and make it, if you get that. And then the sun also sets in the west too, which I thought was like kind of a keynote to this as well. And then the West is also the land of Hollywood, LA, the outlaws, the Wild West, like it kind of plays out in there too. And one last thing where it's like, this is the end. It symbolizes the end is not really the termination of existence, but it's a place of rebirth. And it's kind of when you reach the end, it's where you all come together and you break on through to the other side, which I think is very interesting how this just all plays together in the whole album, in my opinion.
No, yeah, I agree with you. I mean, to be honest, I wasn't talking much there because you were able to explain much more in depth than I would have ever been able to there. And I appreciate that because that's why we're doing this show. But it's the way that they're able to just wind together so many unique and distinct things into lyrics for one song. It blows my mind. And it's a shame because they don't make music like this nowadays. You don't.
Oh yeah, and again, that's why like I encourage people to like listen to the Doors and like get into Jim Morrison, because he's just a genius. And like a lot of people would say he was just downright crazy, like he did a lot of drugs, he was just a drunk, whatever. And like, yeah, he did a lot of that, but like you like listen to his interviews, you got to listen to him talk and just just read his writings, and like you just see like he was actually a pretty smart guy, and he just knew a lot about life, and he was always searching for something more in life, which I just always thought was very interesting of him. And like that's why I'm always attracted to him. Like that's why the Doors are my mistress, because I'm just always they give me something that I can't find anywhere else, in my opinion, with like music, which is like why I really love the Doors and why I think people should really start to listen to them. And you'll find it on like other albums that they have, where like the album Strange Days, like it ends in a song kind of similar to the end. Like Strange Days ends when the music is over, which I think is pretty interesting. They're just kind of, and that song's kind of like the end, but not really. But like it still like just gives you the vibes where it's like that's how like they want to close out an album, which I think is awesome.
No, that is. I'm for sure planning on listening more to the Doors after that. Based on the music from that era, it's definitely leans towards more what I like to listen to. And I'm not much of a Beatles guy. I know you mentioned them earlier, just 1967 being a great year for music. But the Doors are definitely more towards the type of music I like to listen to, and I'm genuinely excited to keep listening to them and learning more.
Yeah, like anything that the Doors put out like is very, very good. Like they like all their albums are pretty good. And I never really listened to their albums much after Jim Morrison died. But like everything they have with Morrison, from their debut, Strange Days, Morrison Hotel, and LA Woman. LA Woman is also a great album. And the song LA Woman is like I don't know if I said that was my top three. That's also like one of my favorite songs of all time. It's just it's such a banger. Like the way that like he even transcribes that song, and not a lot of people know, like or I feel like maybe people do know, but in the song LA Woman, there's like there gets into like a part of the song where he just starts spitting Mr. Mojo Rising. And not many people know this, but you rearrange the letters in Mr. Mojo Rising and you get Jim Morrison.
Jim Morrison.
Yeah, which I just also just blows my mind. Like every time I just hear it and see it, I'm just like, wow, like that's it just proves how like much of a genius Jim Morrison is. And I think I've said that like 10 times already, but it's just you got to listen to him just
you
to
have to
really
stress it. You have to stress how
yeah.
special he was. Yeah.
Yeah. And like the fact that he died so young at 27, like he did all of this before he turned 27, which blows my mind again. Like he was just such a one of a kind and unique guy and singer song. It's just incredible. Like everything that he did in his 27 years of living. And like, I don't think there's like you can argue that like some people have done like a lot of great things, and like I think Jim Morrison's like one of the greatest singer songwriters of all time. Like it's just the shit he's put out is just incredible.
Yeah, I can't argue with you on that. But just talking about singer songwriters, moving into the Turnpike album. So Turnpike, this was their second album. This is their first official album. They put out Diamonds and Gasoline in 2010, and they were founded in 2007, and they put out their original album, Bossier City. And to be honest, they have since said, members of the band, that they just put that song out to have CDs to sell at their bar shows they were playing, and they were not very happy with those songs. They said it was kind of generic, but did what you had to do to have something to sell at the shows. But Diamonds and Gasoline was really like the album that propelled them into Red Dirt prominence. I know I've mentioned Red Dirt on here previously with Cody Jinks. So people from Oklahoma will tell you there's a difference between Oklahoma Red Dirt and Texas Red Dirt. And people from Oklahoma are proud of what they've got. And Turnpike, really, in my opinion, they're the standard for Oklahoma Red Dirt. I mean, you hear their influence, other bands, other artists. Zach Bryan, I've talked about him before. He has a song titled Felker, talking about lead singer and songwriter from Turnpike, Evan Felker, and just talking about his addiction struggles, which Turnpike is currently on permanent hiatus because of Felker's substance abuse issues. They've been on hiatus since late 2019, but he has since done one public interview, and he says his mind is in the right place. He's sober, and he's been writing music again. So the day that they're touring again, I can't wait to drop a shit ton of money to fly down there and go to a show. And then Flatland Cavalry is another younger band that they've been compared to. But really just like what I like about this band really is they play incredibly tight, and they have just such great vivid imagery in their songs for the most part. This but this album, there's definitely a good amount of filler songs on this album. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of love songs on this album that are kind of just filler.
That's one thing I noticed. Yep.
Yeah, no, you can. I think you could definitely agree with me on that. But they have a few songs on here that really, really stand out to me. On here is first song Every Girl, then 7 and 7, which is the second song. Then after that, there's a few kind of, no, I'm not gonna say duds, but just filler. And then Whole Damn Town is another song I really like just because of the imagery in there. And then Diamonds and Gasoline is probably one of my favorite songs by the band. But just starting at the top with Every Girl, in my opinion, I find this one to be really interesting because you don't really hear a lot of positive love songs. I don't know if you got that vibe at all from this, but there's just there's a few lines in there that really kind of just stick out to me about why, like, the girl, hypothetical girl in this song is so special. It's she don't talk about religion. She talks about the Stones. She says she don't want marriage, but she still believes in fate. And she's a sober Sunday kitchen conversation with my dad. I think that there's those. You can kind of get the vibe that they're selling. It's just you're happy to be there in the moment with them, and you're just kind of content. It's young love.
Yeah, no, the She's a Sober Sunday Kitchen Conversation with my dad. That was a lyric that stuck out with me because like I feel like that's like something that like almost any guy kind of want to look for a girl.
Mhm.
Just that morning after, just like sitting there talking with the family, just reflecting on stuff. I think that's just a line that kind of stuck out with me and I thought was pretty interesting.
Yeah, and, like, obviously, we're not gonna be relating to a lot of the, experiences and words written from people from rural Oklahoma, but like you said, everyone can relate to just that, like, contentness of having that conversation with your dad on a Sunday morning.
Hmm.
Um, but then moving into 7 and 7, the, 2nd song on the album, that was by far the most upbeat song on the album. It's one of their bigger, more popular songs, very I mean, clearly, I think in my opinion, it's, probably one of my favorite drinking songs ever, to be completely honest with you. It gives me that vibe, but I think what's interesting is you go from that really positive, love song from Evergirl into kind of a song about the one that got away with this one.
Hmm.
Uh, and the one lyric obviously that stands out is, "Well, I had no clue I'd be the boy who your mama warned you about." Just kinda like your youth, you don't realize how much of an asshole you're being at sometimes, and
Hmm.
before you know it, what you've always wanted is gone because of your own actions, and it's kinda like a self-reflective song in my opinion, but there's just a lot of, like, great imagery in this song. It's, there's a line about, him talking about seeing, the woman in the supermarket with her husband and her child, and basically he's just a fool in a supermarket aisle because he fucked up way back when they were kids. And then ain't it strange how well I knew you back when I was 17 and now you're just nothing more than an interstate daydream. I mean, talking about just driving along the highway, that's the thought that's in your head. You keep constantly
Yeah.
replaying it, kind of just like, fuck, I messed that up. There's nothing I could do about it now. And now I'm just the idiot staring at you in the supermarket aisle while you're with your family while I'm here by myself. I think that that's just it's vivid, and that's just what I like so much about Evan Felker's songwriting. To be honest with you, yeah,
He's
their
painting a
band,
picture. Yeah, like, that's what
yeah,
I liked about it too. He's painting a picture, and yeah, using a lot of imagery. Like and again, we've always said it, like we're suckers for great lyrics and like you like really putting the English language to its fullest extent, and that's why what I kind of liked about this album was like he was a very good lyricist. Like he had a lot of good lyrics in the songs where it's just like painting the picture and just really like putting you in place of what he's got going on in his life.
yeah, and like Evan Felker, he's never gonna blow you away with his vocals. He's a good singer. He's not great, but it just he does such a good job of like if you just sitting there with your headphones on, listening to this with nothing else going on, or if you're driving in the car, just listening to the music, not really paying attention to what's going on around you other than driving, you kind of really are able to put yourself there, and that's what I love so much about this band. They are very, very talented musicians too. Don't get me wrong. I mean, their bass player, RC Edwards, is pretty he's talented. Ryan Engelman, he's their guitar player. There's some videos I've seen of him on YouTube, and the dude can honestly shred if he wants to, when he just goes off the cuff and plays some solos at some of their live shows, and kind of blows my mind because he has a few okay riffs in this album and a few of their other albums, but um, he can really play. And then the most talented musician in the Texas Red Dirt scene, in my opinion, is their fiddle player, Kyle Nix. I mean, I don't know how much you know about the fiddle, but he just plays so incredibly tight and he has a distinct sound to his fiddle playing. And he actually put out an album himself during the pandemic, his solo album. It's pretty good if you'd want to check it out. I don't know if that's up your alley or not, but shows he can do more
I
than
love a
play the
good
fiddle.
fiddle. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love a good fiddle. That's one thing I really noticed a lot in this listening to this album too. Like a lot of use of the fiddle, which I appreciated
Mhm.
actually. You don't really hear that a whole lot, especially in today's music, I feel like. And
Mhm.
again, I'm not very big on modern country and like the red dirt country and all that. So like I don't know
Mhm.
how much fiddle playing is even used in today's
Yeah.
country music at all. But like that was one thing I did notice, like first, like right off the bat, I'm like, oh shit, we got someone playing the fiddle on this album. That's actually pretty sick.
Yeah, so I mean, just talking about the fiddle playing, just keep on rolling it into the song "Whole Damn Town." I think it's the sixth song on the album,
Yep.
and I think this one, the more you listen to it, the more you're able to appreciate it. In my opinion, it's like when I
That's
listened to this
how it
for the
was
first
with
time,
me. Yeah.
yeah, because there's just a lot of not again, Evan Felkers, he's painting a very, very vivid picture with this one, talking about it's basically talking about the song is you're you lost the girl that you don't want to lose because she's the best looking girl in the town, and you lost her, and you know that for the rest of your days, if you're there, you're going to be seeing everyone trying to hit on her and deal with that, and that's
Hmm.
not going to be any fun. There's a few lines that I like. um it's well, the neon signs light up the block. It's a living, breathing honky tonk. Just talking about walking down the strip, seeing everyone trying to hit on her, and that just like you could paint the picture in your head walking down the strip in Tulsa, Oklahoma City, wherever they're at in this hypothetical song. And then this is the best lyric in the song, in my opinion. Well, it's well, your worn out favorite pair of jeans. Oh, I remember everything. And they said they were the things I'd grown accustomed to. The whole damn town's in love with you. Basically, just talking about how that old pair of jeans has seen everything, and you know you break in a pair of jeans, they fit more comfortably,
Yeah.
and just they're you don't even think about it. But then once they're on, the jeans are on almost type of thing, and you don't think about dealing with everyone trying to get with your old girl until you see it happen almost.
Yeah. No,
In a
this is
weird
a
way,
song
that's
I
how I
like.
interpret it.
Yeah. I really liked this song. It was like kind of the only song I really liked off the album. Everything else just
Mhm.
kind of like up in the air for me. And again, I'm not like very into this type of music, but this was like probably one of my favorite songs. This is like a for me, honestly, a great song to drink to. It's just like it's
Mhm.
like just kind of painting the bar scene, And I, although it's kind of a sad song, just like talking about like, yeah, everyone's hitting on your ex girlfriend and whatnot. Yeah, like that sucks. But like behind that, I really like the sounding of the song too, whatnot, the instrumental. Definitely honestly, this like sounds like a very good bar song in my opinion. That's like
Yeah,
something
I mean,
I got out of it.
yeah, I mean, let's be honest. The best types of drinking songs most times are the sad ones. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Moving on, the last song I really want to talk about is "Diamonds and Gasoline." This is, I think it's a beautifully written song, and I'd have it be my first dance at my future wedding, hopefully, hypothetically in a heartbeat.
If she allows it.
Basic, yeah, yeah, that's also true. Um, but it's like honestly, the way I interpret this one, I don't know if it's even an interpretation. It's more so just it's a song about a guy who's found the love of his life, doesn't have the bankroll currently to make her dreams come true. And there's a lyric that always sticks out every time I listen. If I can't afford you, darling, then I can't afford to dream. I mean, he's making the decision of basically paying for his gas or getting her that big diamond ring. And when you're at that point in your life, you're kind of at a crossroads and you have to realize, do your priorities actually line up? I don't know. I think that
A
it's
lot
just
of
a
growing up
very
to do.
well, yeah, yeah. I think it's a very well written song, though.
Yeah, definitely. This was another good song that I like too. And again, I when I first listened to this album, I had mixed feelings about it. I was like I don't know, like it's just didn't hit compared to like when he showed me Meta Modern Sounds and
Hmm.
country music. I really loved that when he showed me that. Then like Cody Jinks was like another one. I was like, okay, yeah, that was actually pretty good. This, it's like I feel like the more I listen to it, the more I'd like it. And like once I like listened to it for like the second or third time today, I was just like, oh, okay, I can see like where they're getting at in this with this album,
Hmm.
what I'm Falker's trying to do with the songs. Yeah, this is like another one that I really like. And like the chorus is like, yeah, like it's just
Yeah.
really like getting your priorities straight and like are you like do you actually want to go through with what you want to do, That's one thing I
Hmm.
got out of the song.
And what I'll say about this album is that it's safe. It's safe. They don't take a lot of risk, which when you're putting out that first album. I get it. I mean, the Doors, obviously, they took some risk on their first album, as we saw
Well,
here.
I think back in the day, more bands took more risks.
Yeah.
I don't know. There could be an argument, but
No, I agree with you. I agree with you wholeheartedly that bands did more to try and stand out back in the day.
like
But
you look at like the Doors' first album, yeah, a lot of risks there. You look at like Led Zeppelin's first album. There's a lot of risks they did on that album too, which is also like one of my favorite debut albums of all time too. Yeah, like this, like yeah, they didn't take a whole lot of risks. They just kind of like I feel like they just had a bunch of songs they had saved up or whatever, like, and they were just
yeah,
like, all right, yeah, let's just go to the studio, let's just get a quick album in. And like you said, like there's a lot of songs on here that you said like that were fillers, you know, that were just trying to just get some just add playing time to the album, you know. Uh and I've had a feeling like there's just a lot of songs on this album too that they just had saved up and that they were just playing at the bars in Oklahoma, you know, and they're just like, yeah, we'll just throw these on an album, just see what happens.
yeah. And the reason that I mean, I love this album, but it's more of it's a sentimental thing because this album was really my gateway into the genre.
Mm.
And I'm sure it's probably honestly pretty similar for other people who are from north of north of Kentucky, to be honest with you. And moving forward, like they put out 3 other albums. They put out Goodbye Normal Street. That's more of a it's more rock, I would say. More like there's a lot more drums are a lot more present in that one. They have a lot more electric guitar present, and there's some great songs on there. I mean, Gin Smoke and Lies, that's like one of their biggest songs. Before the Devil Knows We're Dead, that is probably their most underappreciated song, I would say, in my opinion. They There's a great fiddle solo in there, a great guitar solo. It's an awesome song. And then they put out 2 more albums after that. They put out their self-titled album, Turnpike Troubadours, in 2015. Probably one of their best written songs, The Bird Hunters, was on that album, and it's just one of those songs that you have to listen to a few times to really get the full meaning, but then you listen to it and you're like, Jesus Christ, Evan Felker can write a song. And then they put out another album in 2017. I think that was their most successful album, commercially at least, Long Way From Your Heart. Some good ones on there. It's more, I'd say it's a combination of their 2015 album and Diamonds and Gasoline, where there's some very good songs on there, some great songwriting. But the day Turnpike comes back, they will, it's going to flip the Red Dirt scene on its head, I think. And if they come back, obviously, if they come back,
They're going through the hiatus. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, a, uh, they're cult. They have a cult following, obviously. Like I mentioned, they're mentioned in other artists' songs. Talked about Flatland Cavalry briefly earlier. They cite Turnpike really as their biggest influence, and Flatland Cavalry is a great band. They have a new album coming out later this year, which I'm really excited for. But they have this one song, No Shade of Green, and their lead singer, Cleto Cordero, basically said the song was about him and his buddy driving to a Turnpike show when they were in college, getting too fucked up to remember the beautiful girl's name they were dancing with, and described Turnpike Troubadour shows the most romantic setting on the planet. And I just find that to be pretty funny that they wrote that song then driving home from a Turnpike show across Texas.
That's actually sick. I love stories like that. And I'm a big on like figuring out like how these songs came out. And I love stories like that, like how songs come together. It's like, yeah, like we wrote that coming home from a fucking concert. That's awesome. I love hearing shit like that. Now I have to. What is your favorite Turnpike Troubadours album?
My favorite, I would probably say top to bottom. Oh, this is tough because Diamonds and Gasoline is just such a nostalgia trip for me. But I think the most fun album they have from top to bottom is probably Goodbye Normal Street, to be completely honest with you. Just because if you listen to that, those first 2 songs on there are Gin Smoke and Lies and then Before the Devil Knows You're Dead. And you're tapping your toe the whole time, you're nodding your head, and just it's a great. I don't think they have a bad song, to be completely honest with you. They do have some filler songs, but on their
Mhm.
albums, but I don't think they have a bad song in my opinion. And I have more songs liked on Spotify in my library by Turnpike than any other artist. So that, I mean, I'm not going to tell you I dislike any of their music. So
Yeah, I get that. There's a lot of bands I have too with that. Like Grateful Dead. It's like I like pretty much
yeah,
every
yeah.
song that they put out, and they have a whole array of fucking shit where it's like I think like one of the archives for Grateful Dead is like, oh, I like to think that like every Grateful Dead song's for everybody, but in reality it's not. And
Hmm.
like I'm sure that's how it is with a lot of bands like Turnpike Troubadours, where
Yeah.
it's like, you're saying, yeah, like every song theirs is good, when it's like to someone like me, I probably disagree with that. But
Oh
that's
no,
just how it
absolutely. And
is.
that's
Yeah. Just how
that's
we
the
are
best
with our
part
own
about
music.
music is there's
Yeah.
something different for everyone. And when I
Yeah.
try and like when I try and show people just kind of the red dirt and the Texas country scene, Turnpike's usually one of my favorite places to start just because I mean people who like the genre, they're pretty universally beloved. So I'm just hoping that they're able to figure not figure out, solve their problems that they're having, and they're on the road to getting there. And here's just to
Start releasing
hoping
more
that,
music. Yeah,
yeah. And obviously, if it comes down to it, and Evan Felker decides that touring and writing music is too much for him to deal with, then he's going to be just going back down that path he doesn't want to go down again. I'm not going to be upset. I get it. He gave me 5 great albums to listen to, and
yeah.
it is what it is. But I I'm happy I was able to show you Turnpike. I think I have a band for our next episode too that I think you would like that leans more Southern rock. I'm gonna pick one of their albums. It's Whiskey Myers. They're a Southern rock band right now on the
Okay.
rise. They're pretty. I think you would like their stuff. So I think that's what we're gonna roll with, moving towards the next episode. But other than that, is there anything new you've really been listening to a lot lately?
Uh, I've been backing on the Willie Nelson kick lately. Uh, I've been listening to a lot of Willie Nelson cover Frank Sinatra, and let me tell you, it's some good stuff that he does. I think his version of My Way might be a tad bit better than Frank's. Like I might, and
Really?
Willie's voice is just, yeah, like Willie's voice is so distinct to me. Like I really love sitting down and listening to Willie sing. Uh,
Hmm.
like yeah, like, I've been listening to a lot of like Willie stuff lately, and he does a great version of My Way, like that. I'll listen to it every now and then. Or I was like, and like this morning I listened to it before I went into work, and I was like, wow, that's just really like put me in the right mood for work today. There was that, and then it's in Chicago, it's snowing like a motherfucker up here, and I think we're expected to get another fucking 12 inches this week, and it's been cold as fuck. And I just recently came across a Willie Nelson version of "Baby It's Cold Outside" with, I believe, Nora Jones was the woman singing on it, and even
Okay.
that was just like, wow, that's just such. Even though it's a Christmas song and we're already in February, it was still like a great song to listen to during these cold, trying times. And then yeah, there's just like a whole array of Willie. I want to pick Willie Nelson, like a Willie Nelson album, but like
Hmm.
for one of these episodes. But the thing is, it's like there's just not a distinct album I feel like
Yeah,
he
no, I agree.
has.
I
Maybe
agree with you on there.
maybe Stardust or something. And if I were to pick him, I would just have to pick like 10 songs from him that are
Mhm.
just like, I think these are killer that he does and whatnot. Yeah, I'm a big, and like I've said, I think I mentioned it before on the show. I'm a big Willie guy. Like I like old country. I'm not too into the new country.
Mhm.
But like, yeah, you give me anything like Willie, Waylon, Johnny Cash, or like the Highwaymen, I'll take that and I'll listen to that. Like any of the new stuff, it's very, very hard to get me into it. And like I like how you're trying to get me into it. I really do appreciate that. And like I said, the Meta Modern Sounds and country music, that was a great album. I'm very happy you showed.
Sturgill Simpson is one of my
He's
favorites, to
very
be honest.
good. Yeah.
Yeah, he's very different.
He,
And just speaking
mm,
of Sturgill, I know you've been listening to a lot of Willie lately. I've been listening to a lot of John Prine, R.I.P. I just think he's
ooh,
one
yeah.
of the best songwriters in the genre's history, and didn't get enough respect when he passed away last year from COVID. But reason I mean, I listened to John a little bit growing up. My dad's a fan of him, but what
I
really
feel like it's
got me
very
into
big.
listening,
Like your dad listens to him. That's the
yeah,
type of guy. Music he is. Like your dad definitely listens to John Prine. Like people like us, not
mhm,
too
yeah,
much. Like I'm not very into John Prine, but I do like him. He has some very good stuff out that I highly recommend to people.
yeah. The reason I even really started listening to him more so was that he's one of Sturgill Simpson's biggest fans. So he's written songs with Sturgill, he's produced songs with Sturgill, they've performed together before, and there was a YouTube performance of them playing together, and Sturgill just was doing backing vocals, playing the guitar, and it was just I'll have to find the link and send it to you. It's about 20 minutes, but it was awesome. And I've been listening to a lot of him, a lot of Flatland Cavalry, like I mentioned, a younger band out of Texas, and then I'm still on that Machine Gun Kelly kick. I can't that Tickets to My
You're
Downfall
still
album.
on it.
I dude, I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is, but I like it a lot. I'm
Like a
I've
lot.
been
Yeah,
doing
I respect that. Yeah.
yeah, I've been doing 365. I'm trying to do 365 albums this year, one a day, and I've been listening to a lot more music than
Hmm.
before, which was the goal. And I've just been I've been loving listening to the new music. So it's been my favorite thing about this year so
Yeah, I
far.
like that. Yeah. Yeah, I like that. I haven't like yeah, I've been like just stuck in the same stuff. Like I mentioned, well, I listen to a lot of I listen to a lot of radio. I'm like very old school. Like I don't really use
Hmm.
the aux in my car. I just put on. If you're in Chicago, I think one of the best radio stations is 93.1 XRT. If you're looking for rock,
Yep.
93.1 XRT, I think is hands down the number one radio station. And like after that, you got 97.1 The Drive, which I like. It's a great radio station for classic rock.
Hmm.
It's kind of been growing off me for the past like year or so. It just hasn't hit it as it used to when I was younger. And then you got 101.1, which is like the alternative music
Yeah.
station, which again hasn't been hitting as it used to.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but like 93.1 will always be like my number one radio station in Chicago. And I always leave that on, usually like the first preset in my car. And I think,
Yes.
the reason I like it, I'm always just they play the Stones, they play Zeppelin, they'll throw the Doors on there, and then you're just hearing like Cage the Elephant popping on. Then they'll be playing some Green Day, Kings of Leon, just a whole bunch of stuff. And I was like,
Mhm.
yeah, like this is what I need like out of a rock station. I want the old, the new, and like everything in between.
Yeah. And then speaking of rock stations, I'd be remiss to not mention it. RIP 97.9 The Loop. It's a shame.
R.I.P. I remember the day I heard. I think I was a junior in high school, and I remember the day I
Yeah.
heard. I may have shed a tear. I was just like, "Wow, are you kidding me?" Like, and they lost it to a Christian rock station, which hurts even. Hey,
I still
I
makes
love
no
Jesus and
sense.
all. Like, it makes zero sense to me. I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" Like, come on, how do we let that happen? Although I just recently found out there's a new rock station in Chicago, 95.5. I like listened to it the other day, and like it's way out there. It's too out there for me. I don't know, like 'cause they play and like they're kind of like XRT because or
Mhm.
not now like they're kind of like the Loop where they played like the Loop played a variety of shit like from like the 60s all the way like up to the 90s. I'm pretty sure
90s,
like the
yeah.
Loop would have like yeah, I feel like I distinctly remember hearing like Red Hot Chili Peppers, like Nirvana, or like something like
Yeah.
that on the Loop. And that's what like this other 95.5. I don't even know what their handle name is or whatever, or their station ID is. But I mean it was just kind of out there for me, and I just haven't fully gotten to really get into what they're doing. But I like it though, because I think we do need like just one or two more rock stations in Chicago, like maybe one or two more, and I'd be happy with that. We don't need like a bunch; it's just one or two more rock stations in Chicago, and I would be content with that. And I like what 95.5 is doing, but it's just I haven't fully gotten hooked yet.
Yeah, 95.5, a former country station for a few
Yeah,
years. I mean, 99.5 remaining strong in Chicago, but yeah, let's hope that that station kind of finds their groove.
are
It'd
there
be
any like
nice.
decent radio stations in Champaign that you
Honestly,
like,
not
or
really.
you just
To be honest, there's a solid, it's okay classic rock station. I think it's 97.1. I don't remember exactly. I have it set as a preset in my car, but I forgot what it. the exact numbers. It's solid, but other than that, it's pretty
Nothing.
just basic
Yeah,
down
like
here.
I
Yeah.
always find myself like leaving Chicago. It's very hard to find good radio stations, like mainly because like we're not from the area where
Yeah.
we're going
Yeah.
to. I feel like Milwaukee's got like a solid amount of like
Mhm.
decent radio stations. Whenever I visit my friends in Milwaukee, like we'll occasionally just put on the radio at their house and just be like, all right, like, they got a couple good rock stations out there. At Kalamazoo and like in Michigan, it's like all country out there. And like I know you would like that. Me, like it's just like it's just I'm fumbling around. It's like there's a lot of country, a lot of pop, very
Mhm.
little rock over there. And Kalamazoo, there were a couple good rock stations that I liked. But like other than that, yeah, it's very, very hard to find any good radio stations outside of Chicago, at least for me, mainly
Yeah,
because
no,
I'm
I
not
I
from
agree
the
with you.
areas I'm going to.
To be honest, the
But
best
yeah, I mean,
before we wrap up, I just want to say the best radio I've ever listened to was my family took a trip out to Yellowstone 3 summers ago, and just driving through random rural Wyoming, we found a great rock station. I forgot what it was. We'll never probably be able to find it again.
never,
But
yeah.
shout out to Bufu, Wyoming, a beautiful state. Love it. But yeah, it was a good station. But that's going to wrap up this episode of 33.3 WREC. We will be back next week. If you have any recommendations for us, you want to see us break down, you want to hop on the show, find us on Twitter. My handle, I'll put both our handles in the YouTube description and leave it in the comments below. Thank you again for tuning in. We'll see you next week.
See ya.